Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Pro Wrestling Logic YouTube channel. Welcome to those of you who are new. Welcome back to those of you who are seasoned veterans of what we do around here. We review pro wrestling shows so that you don't have to sit through all of the content that's available on TV. Also, we have exclusive interviews to the channel. I want to mention before we get started in tonight's AEW review, to be followed by a separate audio of NXT review, that we will have this coming Friday Antonio the Promise Thomas of WWE former fame on to have an exclusive interview. If you have questions for Tom, please feel free to tweet me at PO Perception on Twitter, and we'll try to get you to your questions during Friday's recording. In any event, the AEW review for April the 8th, 2020. We come from the Nightmare Factory in Norcross, Georgia. The TNT Championship Tournament begins tonight. I love the fact that they have the Championship Tournament of TNT, obviously the network they're on. You wouldn't have seen that in 2001 with WCW for sure. Certainly the network standing behind All Elite Wrestling quite a bit. Cody and Shawn Spears will be your main event for the evening as they are on a collision course that has existed for more than 8 months now. That's the last time they did battle. Spears and Rhodes, well, you can't call him Rhodes. I guess WWE doesn't like that, but there's lots of things WWE doesn't like. Anyway, Spears and Cody to do battle for the first time in that 8 months, and former tag team partners in Ohio Valley Wrestling in the developmental days of that promotion. Spears used a grudge with Rhodes to jumpstart himself into his career here in AEW several months back. And now they are on a collision course once again. They last squared off at All Out last August in a match where Cody was the victor, but his head was not busted wide open with a steel chair, taking, I believe, several staples to clear, and ultimately was the subject of a lot of controversy at the time. Headshots with chairs, obviously controversial because of concussion syndrome, CTE, and all other associated injuries. It was a very polarizing time, so certainly probably the most remarkable thing that Spears has done in his time with AEW. Of course, Spears normally aligned with Tully Blanchard, member of the original Four Horsemen, but I don't believe Blanchard is allowed to travel due to the epidemic that we have. In any event, and for those that are wondering, yes, I'm working on getting a new microphone. My personal assistant is working on that for me. The issue we're having is that they are not currently shipping. So bear with me for a few more days as we endeavor to give you better sound quality here on the channel. Britt Baker to go and do battle with Hiroku Shida in a women's division match. And certainly Baker is probably the most character diverse female in the AEW ranks. Been given a lot of television time. Obviously, her alliance with Tony Schiavone and the interplay between the two is bridged over into Schiavone's What Happened When podcast, and there's a tongue-in-cheek flirtation between the two, which is kind of fun. Maybe Britt is a sugar baby. We don't know yet. Maybe that will unfold in weeks and months to come. In any event, Shida is one of the better Japanese female talents to come into AEW. Kenny Omega, a major supporter of Japanese women. The former AEW Women's Champion Riho is the young lady that he wrestled for, I believe it was DDT, when she was 9 years old. Let's not get into that. It's a very debatable subject there, but suffice to say, Omega has a vision of what it is to be a female wrestler in AEW, and it includes a Japanese infusion of talent. In any event, we move along. Shida is threatened to be attacked with her shoe. We then move along to the setup for Kenny Omega and Michael Nakazawa. They will team up. They are best friends in real life, at least supposedly. And they will team up against the aforementioned best friends duo of Chucky Taylor and Trent, no last name needed. Omega holds the Tag Team Championship with Hangman Page. Page has not been on the program in recent weeks. Now, I wonder if that has to do with some travel issues, quarantine issues, or whether it's a story. I think by the time the ban is lifted, we may need to turn it into a story. I mean, think about it from a logistics standpoint, and that's what Pro Wrestling Logic Channel is all about. There's a story to be told here. Kenny is being disloyal to his tag team partner by taking on another partner. Some would even say a lesser partner if we look at Nakazawa's record in All Elite Wrestling, and risking his health and thereby risking the tag team championships by choosing to be involved in a televised match. I wish that Page perhaps had been interviewed about this, or they could have shown him tweeting about, or Skyping about his feelings about his tag team partner being involved in a match without him being present. Perhaps that's something they can follow up next week or in the coming weeks. I think right here there's a little subtlety that can be integrated into the storytelling, and that's one thing that AEW does really very well. In comparison to WWE, I think WWE has lost their ability to give us the intrinsical whys, whereas AEW, because their talent is so passionate and loves what they're doing and it comes across on screen, I think they are much more nuanced as a company than WWE has been in recent years. Lance Archer and Brody Lee, easy for me to say, will be here for matches, and they will be here for enhancement talent matches. I like the fact that AEW is doing these. Obviously, they're doing them because they are kind of locked into needing to be in the Florida and now Georgia area for the taping of what was, I believe, several weeks of television. But doing the enhancement matches also makes the monstrous guys such as Lee and Archer appear bigger, and I think that's a lost art in today's current professional wrestling landscape, both at the independent level and even in the international level to some degree, but certainly in WWE where, star versus star, and one star wins, another star wins, and we trade victories like we're dancing a square dance. Luckily, AEW doesn't do that, and that's one advantage they have as a company and storytelling over their competitor. Commentary team tonight will be Tony Schiavone and Chris Jericho. We'll get to that in a minute. I really enjoyed this team, and I'll explain why throughout the remainder of your review. Okay, so we go further into the show. Jake Roberts opens the program, obviously on location, Roberts being in the age bracket at which he cannot travel due to the coronavirus. He asked if Cody was a man or a mouse, and to squeak up and tell him. I like the visual imagery here. I think if you really wanted to go on a darker side, Roberts could have integrated some quasi-heat with the late great American Dream Dusty Rhodes, kind of giving it the, are you like your father? Are you a result of his splotch? Are you just a splotch on the face of AEW? Are you a man or a mouse? I think you can go a little darker with it, and get under people's skin to go after those who have passed. Certainly a bit taboo, but at the same time, I think the Dream, if he were still here, would embrace that. Robert said he expects Cody to lose tonight, and so he'd have to face, so he wouldn't have to face Archer later in the tournament. Archer and Cody, I'm sorry, don't sue me, WWE, as if you don't have better things to do. In any event, Archer and Cody can be a decent match. I think they're pushing it a little too quickly. That's just a personal opinion in the sense that, if it's me, I take Archer and I build him for 2 or 3 months, and he's beating everybody, and he's beating the Paperboy, and he's beating the enhancement talent, and he's beating the lower level talent. Throw him a Nakamura, throw him, I'm trying to think of talent. They could throw him the best friends as singles. Throw him Marco's. Well, did they already throw a Marco stunt? I think they did. But I mean, throw him different talents, and then we see Alan Angels. Alan Angels, if I seem to recall, a representative of the WWA 4 wrestling school in the Atlanta area, trained by A.R. Fox. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure I saw him affiliated with Evolve several months ago, maybe a year ago now. And Fox has an affiliation there, for those that don't know. In any event, Jericho and Shivani go and preview the rest of the card for the evening. We then go to Shida versus Britt Baker. Certainly a very snug match, in my personal opinion. And as I read reviews and just look things over to get a bit of a pulse on what people like and what people don't. This match seems to be getting more of a thumbs up than I would have anticipated. The match, for my taste, was too long and at times sloppy. I don't think either lady was prepared to go as long as they needed to here, but when they have the number of talents, there's certainly a need to do that. Shivani commented that the attitude change of Baker is shocking to him. I wonder if they couldn't do it. And yes, Shivani's married, but in the AEW world of suspension of disbelief, maybe he's on the outs with his wife. Maybe they have an open relationship. I think there'd be a lot of fun that you could do with, kind of the interplay of actually seeing if a romance would develop between Shivani and Baker, or the influence thereof. Anyway, Jericho said that he was in the same place as Baker was, frustrated and unable to get the credit sheet, or at the time he deserved, in the late 90s, and it affected his psychological game. One thing I really liked about Jericho, and he does this throughout the entire evening, he's human. Here's what I mean. The WWE, and I invite every independent play-by-play or color analyst to really think about this, and I also invite anybody who's listening to this that might have national-level influence to think about this too. Chris Jericho made mistakes when he was speaking. He tripped over words. He stuttered. He stammered. But it was for 5 to 15 seconds at a time. He was freaking human. The big problem with many companies, and it's why I'm completely anti post-production, which you'll never see or hear actually a post-produced piece on this channel, because people can tell when things are real, right? It's no different than you've got a girl and you see her naked for the first time, and you look at her chest and you go, those are real. And there's a certain level, and no, I'm just using that as an example. I don't mean to be sexist, so nobody write hate material in. But you can tell those are real. When someone gives you a smile and shakes your hand, you can tell if they're real. And I think to a level, broadcasting is the same way. When somebody stumbles over a word, when somebody's searching for a word, when somebody is attempting to be polished, there's a certain intrinsical connection that they create with the audience that a overproduced, this is the biggest match in the history of professional wrestling and blah, blah, blah. Look, if I wanted sanitary, I'd buy some hand sanitizer. If I want my wrestling announcing to be real, then I'm going to expect that, someone's going to trip over their words, or maybe put a verb where an adjective should go, or get stuck in the middle of an analogy and they can't get out for 3 seconds. One of the best things I was ever told by ROH announcer Kevin Kelly, and he probably doesn't even remember telling me this, but he pulled me aside one day because I used to do the same thing. I had this really bad habit of overthinking when I was out there announcing. And he goes, the great thing about announcing? I said, what's that? He said, no one knows what's in your head. So you can't screw up. Because if they don't know what you're going to say, even if you say the wrong thing in your head, even if you plan to say something else, as long as you carry it off, it comes across real. And that was 2006 or 2007, he said that to me. I speak for a living now as a life and business coach, and I'm about to break into motivational speaking on top of that. And no truer words have ever been spoken. Guys, if you're doing promos, ladies, if you're doing promos, announcers, it's okay to not know what you're saying 100% of the time. We need to get out of this sanitized toilet paper interview style and start appearing more human if we want the ratings to come up. Okay, soapbox over. Anyway, we go back to the match between Baker and Shida here, and then Jericho has the line of the night, and he talks about when he started shaking babies and kissing hands rather than the other way around. Shaken baby syndrome is still a thing, and I'm guessing that comment might be a little uncomfortable for some people. In any event, Baker used the cheating tactics. You can easily tell who the heel is. With a really and a series of near falls is to follow. We go into a little bit of an array with a triangle choke, and then some suplexes, slave blade, and a rope break for Baker. They trade strikes. I think I've mentioned on channels before. I'll probably mention it just about every review that I do. It's better to hit somebody once and make it look good than hit somebody 10 times and make yourself look like an idiot. And that goes for men, that goes for women, that goes for everybody under the sun. Swinging neckbreaker by Baker, followed by a super kick both for near falls, and Shida finally gets the win with a gutbuster from the top rope and a shining wizard for the pin. I mean, I don't really know that she needed the win. I think they said she's 8 or 9 victories into her streak right now. That's great, as long as you're assuming that Nyla Rose, I'm used to Riho being the women's champion anyway, that Nyla Rose is going to be available to defend the championship soon. If she's on quarantine, or if she's unable to travel, or if she's whatever she's got going on, I think you downplay the streak until the ban has been lifted, because it's like promising to deliver something you can't deliver. And if you want people to take the wins and losses seriously, you have to have it built into your episodic television that, in fact, hey, in 3 weeks she's going to get a shot. In 2 weeks she's going to get a shot. I don't think people care so much how many wins a person has. I don't think that matters nearly at all. I think it does maybe to 25-30% of your audience. But I think the wins having actions and consequences tied in, that matters a great deal. And I think AEW needs to be a little more diligent about making the streaks matter just a little bit more. And they're still playing with it. They're less than a year old. It's going to take time to figure out how to do that. And certainly with the climate they're in, they need to be able to do that as well. Then we go to a backstage with Nakazawa and Omega. Omega said they're teaming together tonight, and Nakazawa thinks that they should call themselves the best friends. Omega kind of said, hey, they already are best friends, and it's Orange Cassidy and, actually it's Trent and Chucky Taylor, but that the best friend and Omega and Nakazawa can feud over the name. I guess we should care about this for a reason. Does that mean the losers are the worst friends? Does that mean the losers are better enemies? We don't know. But, unfortunately, Nakazawa is a guy I don't get. Now, when I say I don't get a talent, it's not connecting with me. That's not me saying they suck. That's not me saying they're not talented. I'm sure there's talent in almost every person who's on the national roster. We're trying to get to them. But if it doesn't connect with me, I'm going to say I don't get it. And I think there needs to be more of that in wrestling transparency. I remember when I used to work with talent who now are at a national level, and on a regular basis, oh, brother, you did great, blah, 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 blah. and then they'd walk away, and they'd be like, he ain't got it, she ain't got it. And it's just, folks, we're adults here. Have a reason for everyone you put out there. Have a vision for what it would look like if they leveled up to the next level for them, whatever that is. Stop doing we're just putting you on the event to put you on the event because you're our friend and you like how you look in chaps. It's stupid. It's sophomoric. It's a waste of time, energy, and money. Anyway, a video package that details the rankings aired. I think the rankings are helpful. I think they're useful. I think they set the company apart. However, I don't think, as I mentioned just a moment ago, that they are used enough in a common way to make them Bellator ranks, but let's say the top 3 mixed martial arts company in the world, wrestling a guy who, for all intents and purposes, is still a professional wrestler who has not shown an abundance of mixed martial arts knowledge. I think you get into a slippery slope if you have Hager lose next week, because now you've devalued him to the Bellator promotion in theory. You have taken a guy who you've taken off the street and made him average, but at the same time you don't want to hotshot the championship onto him in favor of Moxley, who might be in the top 3 to 5 people as far as visibility and cross-section marketing that you have in your promotion. So I think it's really dangerous where they've gone here. Taylor and Trent win. They hit the strong Israel on Nakazawa. Obviously, the right man drops the fall there. This match, though, was too long, probably 15 to 17 plus minutes. I wasn't watching the clock. It could have been done in half that, and that includes entrances. Nakazawa, too, does this thing with the baby oil. If you're going to do it, market the hell out of it. Like, I don't like it. It's not my thing. It's a little tongue-in-cheek. It's a little cheeky. It is what it is. But if you're going to do it, I would sell AEW body oil and, you do slipping into place. Do something with it, market it, put it on the AEW shop, and the people that are into that sort of thing, the slapstick humor, they'll buy it, you'll make money, everybody wins. I think if you just put it on TV and there isn't a payoff to it, it's a wasted opportunity. I don't know what they're paying per quarter hour, but there's thousands of dollars every time you put a face on television, and to not take advantage of trying to merchandise that, I think, is foolish. Orange Cassidy does comedy spots. The more I see Cassidy, the more I realize that he is an acquired taste. I think there's a way you can go with the He's mute and he doesn't talk, and well, that's what mute means. So he doesn't talk, and he is the hands in the pocket. And this is me. If I'm producing something different. I don't know what they're called, but there's the paper journals that the teenagers are doing these days where, like, they bring a notebook and they'll hold it up in front of a camera and it'll have emojis on it or it'll have a sentence on it. I am happy. I am sad. So what if you take a guy like Orange Cassidy and you sit him down with a notebook that has his interview written out, and he holds up the piece of paper. I stopped talking because nobody listened. I stopped talking because talent relations told me I wasn't good enough. Whatever. But tell a story in a way that allows him to keep the mystique of not speaking, but allows the people to identify with his motivation. Because here's the trouble you get into with a character that doesn't speak. If you don't have a mouthpiece for that character, and I'm sorry, Trent and Chucky Taylor are not good enough mouthpieces because they're not portraying that they know why he's motivated the way he is. And somebody needs to. And if you're not going to do that, you've got to find a way for him to have emotions, connectable emotions, with the audience without breaking his speech. And maybe he holds up 3 sentences a week and you carry it out over 3 months, So, like, I don't speak because nobody listens. WWE talent relations told me I didn't have it. This made me sad, and I went and drank orange juice. And then he holds up a piece of paper that says, "To be continued." And in the to be continued piece, now you've got the fans hooked in. They want to see what he writes next week. It becomes episodic in nature because if there's a group of folks who like what he's doing, they're going to tune in for that segment. Right now, you're undervaluing a very unique character. I may not get it. I don't have to get it to promote it. What I know is that it has to be promoted differently than everything else on the program. Okay, so we go to a Brody Lee video. He ripped into 2 underlings about not dressing well. He then says perception is reality, which is something I agree with. He also says perception walking through an airport is important. Hey, I'm wheelchair bound. Brody Lee offended me. I can go be a snowflake because I can't walk through an airport. So does that mean I can go through there naked? In any event, questions, they must be addressed. So Britt Baker cuts a promo. She's talking a little bit about being a dirty wrestler, that she's willing to cut corners, do whatever she needs to get done. And then, she's lucky that she didn't touch her teeth. She says that if she had touched her teeth, she could fix them herself because she's a dentist. The question becomes, does she have the authority to bill herself? Are those billable hours if she fixes her own teeth? Again, got to check with the American Dental Association about that. Anyway, we move on, and we got another package of John Moxley and Jake Hager. I don't know the second one, but it's obviously they've got 90-plus minute time slot to fill. They got to do something. There are no judges or scorecards when Hager steps in the ring with him next week. I think that's a great thing. Now, he says that. If it's me, and obviously this has already been pre-taped and it hasn't been done, but, I would even have this little bit of a tongue-in-cheek spot where, Moxley rolls to the outside. He's looking for a weapon. He comes out with 2 scorecards, and one says Jake, the other says Hager, and they both have zeros on them. And he holds them up for 5 seconds. We don't have scorecards. You want a scorecard? Here's your scorecard. You're a 0. Boom. People can identify with that. You know what I mean? I think what wrestling loses a lot is the identifiable nature of tongue-in-cheek humor that doesn't have to be slapstick and over the top, but gets a point across. And I think there's so many things that can be done there. Moxley says he's going to mess Jake up. And obviously, Hager kind of counters and says he'd be better off as champion. Obviously. I mean, who's going to win and also says, I want to lose. This be a little more creative. We then see a Matt Hardy promo. He rips on Jericho for going after the Elite, says he won't allow the Inner Circle to take over AEW, says Guevara is a false god and a false Latino. How can you be a false Latino? Did somebody get his 23andMe DNA and we don't know something? And then he says, wait to eat Pride and Powerful because he loves killing the food. I don't know that we should be promoting cannibalism, Mr. Hardy. And plus, I don't know that there's a way to do the Pride and Powerful thing versus Matt Hardy and Blank, because who does Matt team with that's not going to bring about gee, we wish Jeff, his brother, was in AEW? And from all intents and purposes, that's not going to happen. I wish Matt had waited a little bit. Obviously, he has a family to feed, he's got kids and all that. I get why he wouldn't, but it would have been really cool to see the Hardys end in AEW. I mean, think about Omega. Think about how the Hardys have been at the forefront of the development of the TLC match, the development of the ladder match, and how influential they have been in the last 2 decades plus. If you really want to end your career with the punctuation mark that is, then it would be really cool for the Hardys to end in AEW, where they're going to be treated with the respect of, being able to work a reasonable schedule, being able to be paid well, and all of that. Then Hardy calls the Vanguard 1, brings some Jericho merchandise, and then the Vanguard says it was in a dumpster fire. There's a challenge for the Elite deletion. Jericho and Hardy, I don't know. I mean, it seems to be too soon, and plus we already saw that on Impact a few years ago. If you're going to do something in AEW, I think it should have a different name. I think it should have a different feel. I think it should have, if you really wanted to be topical, maybe you have Hardy call Jericho the virus that's killing AEW. I don't know that you want to be that edgy, but if you really wanted to be edgy and get attention, you could do it. But then, I mean, that's where you go. Brody Lee up next against Lee Johnson. Poor Lee Johnson. He got his 37 seconds of fame on national television. Johnson is your typical white meat enhancement talent carpenter. He does what he needs to do, and Lee wins a really quick squash, and he wins with the discus lariat. We then go to our main event of the evening, and that is Cody with Brandy Rhodes versus Shawn Spears. Cody comes out really strong and uses a cutter early. I'm glad that we haven't seen as many cutters to me, other than maybe the package pile driver and the Canadian Destroyer, one of the top 3 overused moves in wrestling. Guys, please, girls, please watch the matches on the monitor so that you're not doing the same moves in back-to-back matches. It's respect. If you are, and this is the way I try and educate people to this, imagine for a second you're going to a bar and you're trying to pick up that lady or that girl. It's that, she's a 10, he's a 10, whatever. And so you saunter over and you use a pickup line. Are you going to go to the next table over when she or he denies you and use the same pickup line? No, you're not, unless you're a moron. Wrestling moves are the same way. You've got to give them breathing room and space so that when somebody hits a cutter, somebody hits a lariat, somebody hits a whatever, it means something. It's special. It's unique. moves don't sell tickets, but stringing them together in a unique and compelling way does. And I think that gets lost in many promotions, all the way from independents and backyards to national level companies. Anyway, Cody goes for some quick near falls. Then we see Cody with a missed moonsault, and Spears takes over before the first commercial. There's a suplex on the guardrail that looks pretty nasty from Spears to Cody, and then Spears takes over in the ring again. Misses a springboard frog splash and gets the knees up, does Cody. Cody really, the one thing I like about Cody is every one of his matches, if you watch them in comparison with many of the other national products company matches, they're always paced in such a way that you have breathing room between the type spots. And I think there's an art form to that. He's using modern wrestling technique with old school pacing, and it works. And I think it's why in my opinion, he's the best in the country right now. That's a debatable opinion. Some would say Omega. Others might. I'm trying to think of who they could say. Maybe Ricochet in WWE. Maybe I don't know. I can't even think of who in WWE. Tommaso Ciampa. There we go. And Johnny Gargano. Maybe they're in the conversation for U.S. talent on national level. But to me, pound for pound, and between the promo and the total package, Cody's the best thing in the U.S. right now. And I think it's unfortunate that he can't be the standard bearer for the company. I understand why, as an executive vice president, why he wouldn't want to be. But at the same time, when we're talking about the total package as a wrestler, we're not talking about Lex Luger in 2020. We're talking Cody Rhodes, and I think he's got that. They do a sequence where Cody nails a suicide dive. Spears hits a double arm suplex, but he can't get the job done. Spears toss Cody over the top and through the table, and they tease an almost end of the match for the countout. Cody blocks the C4, hits 2 crossroads, and Spears kicks out. Now, I'm big on finishes mattering, and everyone's going to say, well, it's 2020, and this isn't the same wrestling business, but that doesn't mean it can't be. Even in a real fight, even if this is UFC or a street fight, right? Every fighter you've ever seen, whether it's on World Star Hip Hop or in UFC or another form of martial arts, they all have a signature punch. Maybe a hook, maybe a knockout kick, maybe a jump kick, whatever. Every fighter has something. And if for Cody Rhodes it's that crossroads, the only person that should be kicking out of that maneuver at all should be somebody that we believe has what it takes to beat Rhodes at the drop of a dime, and it's been protected for months until we get there. Otherwise, we render the hold useless, and a main event talent, even if that's not what Cody wants to be, it's what he is on this program, should protect their main maneuver. It's just common sense. And then, so the end of the match was unique. We see Cody lock in the figure 4, and Spears takes the fall as Aubrey Edwards is counting the pin. Spears tries to hold on to her to get the match stopped. Again, I don't know that this was the way to close a program, but with everything that's in line, what else did they have they could do? Still, Dynamite, to me, is the best program on American television today for professional wrestling. I will continue to say that until somebody proves that to be incorrect. This has been Scott Golden with your AEW Dynamite review for the 8th of April, 2020. We will be back before too long, probably within the hour, with your NXT review for the same evening. And again, like, subscribe, comment. I want to hear, what was your favorite match? And if you could change one thing about something that happened on Dynamite tonight, what would it be? Comment below. We want to interact with you. We want to hear what you got to say. Keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment. Until next time, everybody.